Hey guys, in this video we're going to be going over creating your wedding budget. Now, I know creating a wedding budget sounds intense and scary at first glance, but it really just comes down to having a clear vision of what it is you want and how much you're willing to spend. The rest of it is just who gets what portion of that budget. Lucky for you, we got you covered. Before we discuss budgeting for anything though, it's important to first have a clear idea of what type of wedding you and your spouse are looking for. More importantly, you want to make sure you're both on the same page. If you're looking for a big celebration surrounded by everyone in your life, but your fiance wants something that's more small and intimate with just your closest friends and family, this is going to create some serious tension in the relationship. So try to come to an agreement and compromise where you can. Maybe you decide on a hybrid version. Maybe it's a small, intimate wedding with some awesome food and a spectacular honeymoon, and then when you get back, you throw a huge backyard potluck and celebrate with all your friends at a fraction of the price. Just remember, you're planning a wedding with the love of your life, your best friend. Right next to that, who cares if the wedding is in the Cayman Islands or Connecticut? Once you're both on the same page, the next step is to get a general idea of where you want the wedding to be. Now, I'm not talking about a specific venue, we'll get to that soon. Just think about what area you want this wedding to take place in, because that plays a big role in how much things are gonna cost. A barn wedding in rural New Hampshire is gonna be far more affordable than a high-rise hotel in the heart of Boston. Once you've got a rough idea of an area, just hop online and do a little research into the average cost of what a wedding looks like in that area. So now that you know your what, your where, your when, let's dive into your how. You might wanna make sure you're sitting down for this one. The average cost of a wedding in the United States is $63,000. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's only $28,000, but that's still a lot of money. See how I told you the number was bigger, so the other one seemed a lot smaller? You're welcome. The good news is that not all weddings are that price. In fact, I planned my own wedding for under $5,000. I've also been to a wedding that was over $1 million, so there's a lot of flexibility and control in that price. You should start by asking yourself two questions. How much money are you able and willing to spend? And how much money does the wedding you want actually cost? For the first question, you probably have a vague idea of this. Maybe it's $10,000, maybe it's $20,000, whatever it is, I want you to write that down in your planner, and then right below that, I want you to write the following figures. For your venue, put 20 to 24%. Food and beverage, you want 20 to 26%. Vendors, you want 20 to 26%. Attire, 7 to 8%. Invitations, 2 to 3%, decor, 2 to 4%, and miscellaneous, 7 to 9%. Now, first of all, I just want to say these numbers are going to look different for everyone. No two couples are alike, so therefore no two weddings are going to be alike. You may have different priorities than someone else, and therefore you may want to adjust your budget breakdown to fit your vision. But we'll get more into that later. For now, I want you to just use these figures as a guide. For this purpose, I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to use $20,000 as my rough budget. This amount is likely from my own personal savings, but be sure to ask your friends and the bridal party what they're comfortable with contributing, since many of them will be ordering their own wedding attire, attending the bachelorette party, and potentially playing some pretty big key roles in the day. In a lot of cases, we might see bridal party buying their own outfits, paying for the bachelorette party, or even covering the bar tab on the wedding day. It's also pretty common to see families chipping in on what they can, or even in some cases, paying for the wedding as a whole. Now, we're not all that lucky, so just remember to be thankful for whatever kind of support you get, even if it's just someone offering to give people a ride to the hotel. Every little bit helps. So let's take that total budget and break it down into each category. First of all, you'll notice that each of these have a range for their percentage. This range is based on what most people end up spending in the average wedding. So we've got a low-end estimate and a high-end estimate. Let's plug in these values and see what things look like starting on the low end. Budget is going to be $20,000. So for the venue, we're at 20%, that's gonna be $4,000. For the food and beverage, that's gonna be 20%, so that's another $4,000. Vendors, 22%, so that's $4,400. Attire, we're at 7%, so that's $1,400. Invitations, we're at 2%, that's gonna be $400. Same thing with decor, 2%, that's gonna be $400. Miscellaneous, we're at 7%, so that's gonna be $1,400, leaving us with a total expense of $16,000, which means we're actually $4,000 over budget. So now let's take a look at that same budget on the high end of that range. So for a $20,000 budget, the venue is gonna be 24%, so $4,800. Food and beverage is gonna be 26%, so that's $5,200. Vendors, you're looking at 26% as well, $5,200. Attire, 8%. It's $1,600. Invitations, 3%, that's $600. Decor, 4%, or $800. Miscellaneous, we're gonna say 7%, that's $1,800, for a total expense of $20,000. It's using the full budget, nothing left. All right, so aiming on the low side of this budget kept us much more conservative, but ended up leaving us with a $4,000 surplus, having only spent 80% of our total budget. That means that we have plenty of wiggle room as we start shopping around for a venue and our vendors. Now, in a lot of cases, a venue's package might already include things like catering, beverages, tables, chairs, etc. And so that venue ends up being a higher price, but a better deal overall. Not only can you save some money by bundling these services through your venue, but it's also way less of a headache for you when it comes to shopping around for everything you need. Also keep in mind, if you decide to go with a venue who's already got some of those things included, you can now merge those categories within your budget and give yourself more flexibility. Again, no two weddings are alike, so you may find you end up spending way less in that area than the estimate projected. In that case, great, then you've got more flexibility in other areas that are more important to you, like your venue or your videographer. And I don't want to hear anyone say that you can't find a venue for $7,000. Yeah, Stacy, okay, you can. Mine was $1,500, and I've seen packages in the $2,000 to $3,000 range plenty of times. Most churches are only a couple $100, if not free, and you can always reserve a park, a local garden, a function hall for all around the same price. Just do your homework and compromise where you can. A great place to start is by searching venues based on your location right on sites like WeddingWire. You can just plug in the town or the city you have in mind, and you'll see a list of nearby venues pop up. Even better, a lot of them list their pricing breakdown right there so you can start comparing. They even have built-in options to toggle between in-season and off-season pricing. And to make things even easier with organizing your budget, we've created an awesome wedding budget calculator that takes care of everything for you. You just plug in your total wedding budget up at the top, and the calculator automatically distributes that budget throughout each of the categories we discussed. It'll even give you a breakdown from both the low end and the high end estimates. And from here, you can expand each category to see an even more in-depth breakdown. This gives you a ton of insight and accountability into all of your purchasing decisions throughout the process. That way you can confidently spend your money and book what you need without having to worry about if you're gonna come up short. Then as you book each service, you just list the total price you paid in the actual cost column for each corresponding subcategory. If you're within the projected estimate amount, then everything is gonna stay green. But if you're getting close to going over budget or within 90% of your budget, it'll turn yellow. And if you end up going over your budget, that box is gonna light up red. This is just another way to help you visually keep track of where you're at and self-correct where you can. You can also track all of your deposits and any remaining balances in the columns next to that. Green is what you've paid so far, and red is what you still owe. As you start paying things off, that remaining due column will start to zero out until your totals are balanced again. And just like that, you can see how much of that total wedding budget you have left remaining. The ultimate goal here is at the end of the day to finish things off with that box green. If it's green, that means you've kept yourself on budget, and you should be very proud. Because guess what? 77% of all couples planning a wedding go over this budget. And of those who go over this budget, the average couple goes over by $7,000. It's a lot of bread. But guess what? They didn't have this calculator. You do. You've got everything you need to come out of this on top. So don't sleep on these tools because they can be a complete game changer. So to access this calculator, just click on the budget calculator link listed down below this video, as well as in the resources section of the course. When you click on that, it'll take you to our master copy of the calculator, which means you won't be able to edit anything just yet. Just click on File, Make a Copy, and rename it as your own. Now you'll be in your own version where you can edit each of the fields. Just be careful not to accidentally change any of the data in the budget projection section of the calculator, since all this information is collected using programmed functions. So the same goes for the category of totals. All of these are programmed functions, which are based on what you entered into the subcategories, so they total up. A simple typo and you'll be $30,000 over budget. So to keep it safe, I've put a protection warning on anything you probably shouldn't be changing. That way you can still edit whatever you need to, but if you're changing the functions themselves, you'll have to manually bypass that warning first. The last thing I'll mention is that this calculator has several tabs listed down below, each one being its own calculator for each topic. Now, once you've identified your total wedding budget, this will also determine your catering budget and therefore give you a projection on how many guests you can accommodate given your total cost per plate range. We'll get more into this later in the catering section of the guide, but for now, I want you to just be aware that these tabs are all here as well. So that's pretty much it, you guys. Again, we created these tools with the hopes that it'll help make the wedding planning process easier. We'll constantly be improving and adding new resources for you throughout this process. And we'll also be making a habit of posting any new updates right in the Facebook group so you can stay up to date on all those changes as they come, kind of like patch notes. If at any point there's something missing that you would really like to see, or perhaps you have a new idea altogether, just let us know right in that Facebook group or email us directly at support@wedeverything.com. Any ideas that get a lot of traction within the group will be put to the top of our to-do list. So let us know if you have any questions about what we covered in this video, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget that you can subscribe to our channel right here, and we will see you in the next video.